makes most women start a business? Is it passion, money, or freedom? Welcome to Female Founders, the podcast that takes you behind the scene with women who are founders and CEOs to help you start and scale a successful business of your own. I am your host, Nagelia de Ravin. Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Female Founders. In this episode, we are going to have a conversation with the hotel lady, Liz Wagner. She is a certified life coach and Gallup coach and the founder of Hotel and Hospitality Concept. Good morning, Liz. I am so excited to have this conversation with you, and you have been in the same industry since the 80s. And then it's just very fascinating to see that you started your career working as a front desk clerk with Marriott International Hotel, and then you actually become a regional vice president of sales and marketing for a really top company. And it's just fascinating to see you doing all this great work. And right now, you have your own business for the past 25 years. And I just can't wait to learn everything about you. So you have been doing this for a very long time. So what led you to discover your path in the first place?
Actually, I was in career transition, to be honest. And I wanted something to do that would not be mind-boggling, that I could just take my time and decide what I wanted to do. So that's why I took a job at the front desk. And actually just began to love it as a result of that.
But I know you began to love it, but to stay on it for 30 years, what was that fire that's kind of like, hey, this is it for me?
It kind of gets in your blood. You know, it's every day is different. You're meeting different people. You have different scenarios. You know, it's not the same, even though the processes are the same, you're doing something different because you're dealing with different people, you're dealing with different needs, you're meeting, Secret Service people one day, the next day it's a CEO, and then the next day it's an entertainer. And so you never know what you were going to get. And so it just made it very exciting, and I just loved it.
So, the industry has changed when it's come to hospitality. So do you also have to change with it as well?
Customer service is customer service. And when you're taking care of guests, the basics change. How you do business and the rates and the financial end, those things change. But the basis and foundation of hospitality stays the same.
Absolutely.
It stays the same. It's about taking care of people and meeting their needs and giving them a smile and making it happen for them. So that never changes in the industry. It's a little harder to do it now, but it doesn't change.
Learning about you, there's one thing I realized: you are a people person. So
I be.
I'm thinking that's one of the things that's kind of like really make you always want to make people happy, and then especially when they are traveling, because sometimes we deal with a lot with traveling, flight delays, and this problem, that problem. The last thing I think you will want is to get the worst room in the world. When you get there, it's like, really,
Yeah, that was a little hard for me because I'm a New Yorker. And so we tend to be reactionary at times. And so when I first started at the front desk, there were some challenging times where, someone would say something crazy and you want to address it, but you couldn't. I think the worst I had was a flight attendant who threw her suitcase across the counter. She was upset about the room that she had. And so she wanted it changed. And with airlines, you can't. They stay in the same rooms because of noise and various factors. And so we couldn't change the room. So she came and she threw her suitcase and she said, "I demand another room." And so we're like, "Sorry, we can't give you another room. That's the only thing that's available." And so then she said, "Pick up my suitcase and give it to me." And so at that point, I just smiled and I just walked away.
I will too. Oh my goodness.
I let somebody else pick it up. I wasn't going to do it.
Absolutely. I didn't do it for you. You do it yourself.
So yeah, you deal with that, but with time and experience and years, you learn how to deal with difficult people and kind of take control of the situation and bring it down a level.
The good thing is, it seems like you live the dream, the movie life. It's like being in a movie. You know, we see people doing things on people.
Those things really happen, those things really happen. Weird people check into the hotel and do weird things. And my first hotel was the LaGuardia Marriott. And that's at the airport, the craziest airport in the craziest city. And so we experienced a whole lot of stuff.
So how was the experience working as a vice president of sales and marketing for the hotel group that you work for?
It was an awesome experience. It was an opportunity for me to give back everything that I've gained over my career and to mentor people who were moving up. Because as the vice president, I was over 27 hotels in our company, and I was over the sales and marketing departments. And so that's the area that books the conventions and meetings and groups and so forth. And so it's the largest revenue stream in the hotel. And we are considered the revenue generators. And so to oversee all of those departments, and I had an opportunity to, as I said, mentor, to train, and to direct the teams and help people with their careers as well as help them make the hotel successful.
Absolutely. I love that. And also, I guess that also builds your leadership skills as well, because now you become a leader and managing all these people that,
Yes.
yeah. So, how do you feel as a leader? How does it feel to lead a group of people every day? So, would you say it was difficult?
It wasn't difficult. By the time I became a regional vice president, I had the experience of dealing with people. My first director position was a challenge. And I then had to learn, and the biggest takeaway of that was you have to manage people individually.
Hmm.
There is no one size all in terms of management, because I had people who needed to be micromanaged. I had people who didn't need to be managed at all, that they just were self-contained and they did what they were supposed to do and they went home. And then you had some that were on the fence that you had to push and prod. So I had, my first team was a team of 12. And there's probably, I'd say, about 11 different personalities out of the 12. And
Wow.
so that was challenging. And, I made mistakes, made some people not happy, had some people mad at me sometimes. But I learned that you have to really, really manage people based on where they are and who they are, as opposed to one process for everybody. And so by the time I got to the 27 hotels, it was easy because I understood that. And each hotel required something different. Each director did. I had directors that I could rely on. If I said I need this by 5 o'clock, I'd have it by 3. And then I had some directors that a day later, I'm still trying to collect it. So you just learn a person's personality and you learn how to manage them.
Did you also manage the directors? Is that what it is?
Yeah, so I managed the directors. I oversaw the directors, and then you had their sales teams below that. But I
Oh.
felt that in order for me to be effective, and everyone doesn't do this, but I established a relationship with each of the salespeople as well. I never wanted to be in a position where I relied 100% on what I was being told by the director. If a director called and
Hmm.
said that this sales manager is not doing it, she's not motivated, she's not this. If I stayed 30,000 feet above and just looked down, I would have to take her word for it. But I
That's
wanted to
true.
know how to go back and say, well, she has shown me this. Have you tried this? And, so I approached it from a different perspective. So there was never anyone on any of my sales teams that I didn't know. I made it a point when I went to each hotel to sit down with the entire team one by one, whether it was 15 minutes or 30 minutes, I did that every single visit.
Wow, I love that. So, what pretty much you are doing, you're not only just coaching and mentoring the directors, but you're also doing it for the sales team, for the sales
Correct.
managers.
Correct.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
The hospitality industry, it's now becoming more female presence, but in leadership roles is very limited. So I would always get, what was your track? How did you get there? What do I need to do? How do I need to position myself? And so that's what I did. And after that, I became a certified coach. So.
Would you say that experience prepared you to start your own company?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oops. Absolutely. Absolutely, it did. It motivated me too, so that I would make myself available to other companies as well. So I go out and consult for other companies and do some of the same things that I did in my job.
So, can you tell us about the hotel and hospitality concept and the services the company offers?
Sure. So basically, we do hotel consulting. And so whatever the needs are, what you want us to go in and take a look at how you're currently doing things and make recommendations. I do that. Um, I actually built a hotel. We did a hotel in Liberia, in Monrovia. And I had a client come to me and said, we have this building and these are the floor plans and the builder is building it and we don't know what to do with it from there. And I actually did this while I still had my job. So I did this on the side and in my free time. And so I found someone to, help do the final design, and we had to furnish it, and I had to buy all the supplies, and I had to do everything. And so it took about a year and a half, and we got the hotel opened. It was it's a 68 room hotel. And so I took
Wow.
it all the way from the dirt and the stone all the way to the grand opening. And so that was great. I had opportunity to put in place and kind of create some of the visions that I've developed over the years of, if I ever had my own hotel, I would do this. Well, I took on that this was my hotel, so I created it to be that way.
I love it. And
Hmm.
so, pretty much, you're saying that if someone's starting in your hotel, you
Hmm.
can step in from the beginning of that and make things happen.
Yes, I can help at any stage of the hotel, to if it's brand opening, new opening, a new hotel, or what have you. I could do any. After 30 years, you can pretty much do anything. And I tell people I've never worked in housekeeping, but after 30 years, I can go into housekeeping and figure out what needs to happen in order for the job to get done. Um, on the other services I book hotel rooms for entertainment people when they go on tour. I do sports, athletes. I do sporting events. I do meetings and conventions for corporate clients. So anything pertaining to the hotel, I do. So I've been nicknamed, and I trademarked the name, the Hotel Lady. And that's because I do everything hotel. If it has anything to do with a hotel, I can do it.
So also we're talking about sales, marketing. Can you also help with the team? Let's say that the sales is doing bad. Can you just say, I'm gonna step in and I'm gonna help take you from where you are to where you wanna be?
Absolutely, absolutely. I can go in and help the team. I also became a certified Gallup strengths coach. So there are several hotels that I have gone in and taken the sales team and the executive team to create the strengths, go through the Gallup strengths so that everyone understands their strengths, and so everyone's operating out of their zone of genius. A lot of times we put people in places that their skill set doesn't match. Everyone can't do every job, and we failed that when we're trying to hire people. And so we want to make sure that you want the right people in the right position. Like, I had one hotel where the general manager felt that the entire team was awesome, but they weren't productive, and he couldn't
Huh.
figure out what to do. And so I went in and I spent 3 days, and immediately after 3 days, I figured out what was wrong. They were assigned in the wrong market segment. You had a person who was a go-getter, who was strong-willed, who was a New Yorker, give me your life story in 10 seconds or less type. And she was assigned to handling associations. And those people are
Oh,
not professionals. They're a lot of times volunteers. And so they want to come and have lunch and talk about the whole program. And you have to explain things to them. And it wasn't working for her because she's like, what do you got? What you got? Let's do it. And that wasn't happening. And then you had a person sitting behind a desk handling groups, but she really liked to be out pounding the pavement, going to see clients and having face to face. So I just redeployed every single person on that team to match their skill set and their personality. And then they began to see success.
this is amazing. But you think, I know you are the hotel lady, and I'm not trying to take you out of that because you've been doing it for over 30 years. I think we need to keep you where you are the best at. But that method, do you think that it can work for any other company? Because this is
Oh,
something
it
like I
works for
think
all companies. Yes, the Gallup Strength Finders is to help each person identify what your strengths are. And once you realize that, when I first went through it, went and took the assessment, and I took a class, and I'm like, is that why I did that? Is that why I say that? Is that, and you just, these are your innate abilities that you don't even think about that you do,
hmm,
so I coached someone who felt that she was very empathetic and was upset because empathy was number 20 on her list. And so I'm like, okay, give me an example when you were empathetic and the other person didn't think you were. And she said, she said, my brother hasn't spoke to me in 3 years because when my mom died, I told him to write the obituary and I would do everything else. Well,
huh.
3 days later, he hadn't written the obituary because he's been crying and everything. So I had to do everything. And so he got mad at me because I yelled at him. And I was like, well, where was your empathy? And she was like, well, I thought I was being empathetic because I just asked him to do that and I did everything else. No, you're a taskmaster. And so you're going to cry and deal with your emotions when your list is done. He's not.
That.
He's dealing with the natural emotions of losing his mom. You have the ability to put everything aside, do what you got to do, and then you'll cry.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
she's a taskmaster. So she should never, she would never be in the role of a greeter at Walmart.
that's true.
So it's very
That
important
is
for
so
people, their
different.
skill sets to be matched with who they are and what their innate abilities are. Like, you can't teach someone who doesn't smile to be a people person. You can't teach them to be hospitable. And I had a general manager, I don't know how many years ago, but he was from Amsterdam, and he used to constantly say, that person came in here not smiling. You can't teach anybody to be hospitable. You can't teach people to care. Either you have it or you don't.
That's
And so
interesting.
you don't put people in roles where they can't.
Exactly. Totally agree with that. And I
Mm-hmm.
like the example that you gave with the brother and the daughter. It's kind of like it's make a lot of sisters and brother. It makes a lot of sense because each one of us deal with things differently. Where
Mm-hmm.
some of us we are hurting inside, but we don't we hide it and we just stand
Correct.
up and we do what we gotta do. And at the end, we go to our bed and we cry, and then we clean our face. We went out again like nothing ever happened. While
But you
other
can't be
people,
mad at that other person, right?
yes, you can because other people, that's the only way they know is to just let it out and be done with it. And that's it.
Correct. Yes. Yes.
Wow.
Absolutely.
What you are doing is amazing, you know that? And I'm glad that you're not just limited to like working with one company. You are able to just pass on that type of messages around the world. Especially me, I support women in business, and I love when I see other women supporting because we need more of that. And then that's something we have been missing for the past few years, and
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
we hope that we can change as women ourselves because we are teachers. We're supposed to be teaching. We're supposed to be giving birth. We're supposed to be helping, supporting. And don't get me wrong, we also need to remember ourselves because we have to support ourselves and help ourselves. But when we can be able to give a hand, it's a lot. It's important. And what you are doing
Absolutely.
is awesome.
We need to lead in the home and outside. So,
Absolutely. So,
yeah.
you provide services to celebrities, right? So, do
Yes.
you also provide it to anyone that will need your help? Let's say that I'm not a CEO, I'm not a celebrity. I just need help fighting a hotel room. I just need help with the issues I'm facing with. Is that something you will do for just anyone?
Yeah, I can help hotels. I tell people that I don't do the vacation and the leisure, but I can help anyone book hotels. I do corporate travel. I have companies that they will have their employees just call me to book a room when they're just going for a meeting or just going somewhere. And there's a little bit of leisure that I do for my clients, for the entertainment people and things like that. But I'm not a travel agent, so I can't do excursions and all of those type of things. But I am available for any other hotel related needs.
Yes. So people call you the hotel lady. How did the name come about?
The hotel lady came about. I don't know if you are familiar with Luther Campbell, Uncle Luke.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay, he he was a client of mine, and he appreciated the work that I was doing for him. And so when people would ask him things, he'd say, "Call the hotel lady." He said, "That's my hotel lady over there. You know, go see." There's the hotel lady. And so he just, that was just an easy reference for people. And then people started calling me, "Hey, hotel lady." And so I figured, that's a unique name. It is who I am. It is what I do. So why not trademark it and make it mine?
It
So
is
I
what you
did.
love doing.
Exactly. So instead of worrying about my name, I don't care if you know Liz Wagner or not. It's the hotel lady, and so that's what it is.
The
Easier
fantastic
to
hotel
remember.
lady.
Easier to remember.
Yes, it is. So, do you provide your services just inside the US? What happened if they are traveling outside of the United
No,
States?
I book outside the U.S. I actually just had a group go to the U.K. to participate in a festival a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I do international as well as domestic.
Do you, when you book the hotel, do you also book it with the flight, or we just strictly just hotel?
I book strictly the hotel. If they don't have someone that handles their flights, I have a couple of companies that I work very closely with that I refer to. And
Okay.
so a lot of my clients I'll send to one of my two partners, and they'll book the airfare, and I'll take care of the hotels.
Do you have? I know you have that. I can feel you have that teachable inside you, and you think that in your future you will be coaching people, like even if they're not in the same industry.
Oh, I do. I'm also a certified life coach too. So I like going to school and getting certifications. I don't know why. So, but, so I have my hospitality certifications, and then I'm a certified life coach as well as a certified Gallup strengths coach.
But
So
do
I
you
can
use
help
them?
people career wise. I do. I do.
But you don't use them just in the hotel and the hospitality industry. You use them outside of that as well.
Correct. Correct. I can do any type of career coaching with the Gallup strengths and
Okay.
help people with their career paths, regardless of what the industry is. I do specialize in hospitality, but I do outside. It really doesn't matter in terms of the strengths. I actually did a strengths workshop for the FAA. So
Mm.
it becomes a corporate culture, and this particular team was very much into strength finding, the strength finders assessment and everything. And so we just did a couple of seminars to enhance what they had already been doing. And then on the life coaching, I can work with various topics, whatever your concerns are that you'd like to talk about and work through. I do have a specialized program for people who are getting out of and starting over after narcissistic and toxic relationships. And so
Ooh.
that's kind of my area of my niche there with the life coaching, but I do coach people on various other areas.
When you say getting out of relationship, we're talking about just normal relationship here, or we're talking about any type of relationship. Let's just say, because sometimes we do have bad relationship on even with our jobs. We end up having a bad boss and all these bad things
Well,
that we need to get
narcissistic
away
and
from.
toxic, yeah, not narcissistic and toxic relationships. They could be your boss. I had one, and narcissism is a interest of mine because I was in a narcissistic relationship, and I also had a narcissistic boss, and I was just like, both of them are crazy, but they're driving me crazy and I don't know what to do. So I need to leave one, but what's going on? And it wasn't until after that I discovered that I was dealing with two narcissists, and that's how it was just one against the other.
There. Wow. How did you deal with that?
Left both of them.
That was easy enough. Goodbye.
I just don't, my mom just taught me when a situation isn't good for you, regardless of what it is, leave, and also make sure that you're in a position where you can do that. And so that's what I did. And being in toxic environments, whether it's work or home or parental or whatever it is never good for you. It's not healthy. And it ends up causing you more harm than it does the individual. So you have to prioritize yourself, put yourself first,
Mm-hmm.
and then make whatever move you need to make for you.
You got a point here, yes. And usually,
Mm-hmm.
like you said, you are the one who paid the price because you end up being stressed. You even at home, your attitude changed because you. I think one of the things, even with me, one thing that happened to me, I was scared of going to work. Going to work was that thing that when I wake up in the morning, it's like, do I have to?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll start crying before I even get to the job because I'm scared that that person going to react to me. What are they going to say this time? Because it's going to hurt me, whatever it is. And it can be very bad, especially when you don't have the help. You don't have anyone else you can go talk to. It's like you stuck
Mm-hmm.
into that one little
Mm-hmm.
box. I have one manager. She didn't want me to get a promotion. Not only like every time I apply for something higher, she will give me a bad recommendation so I don't get it because she wanted to keep me with
Wow.
her exactly. She said, "You are the best at what you do, and I want you to stay right there."
Yeah, no, you can't hold me back for your benefit.
Exactly. But there's people like that out there. They are just like
Correct.
that. That's just the way they are. And it's not good for you. So I see your point when you said, I just leave.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you when you have self-worth and you value yourself, you have to then weigh whether or not this is good for me or is it bad for me. What am I benefiting and what's the detrimental side of it? And so you just have to look at it from that perspective. And I guess the biggest thing was once I discovered narcissism and understood that things cannot change, then there really was no reason to stay there.
That's
Some
true.
situations can be repaired, some can be fixed. But when you understand that you're dealing with something that's not ever going to change, why give it any more than what you've already given it? Because it's not going to get better. It's only going to get worse.
This
And
is it.
so once I realized that there was no point in staying, I didn't, and that's after going to having two separate marriage counselors in a 3-year period.
Oh my
So it
goodness.
wasn't like I just woke up and said, okay, I'm out, I'm done. I put in the work and understood that I was now dealing with a personality disorder that was never going to change. So why go to a third marriage counselor? Why continue to endure? Because we tend to ignore the impact of emotional and mental abuse.
Yes.
And you can, those are as bad as physical abuse.
Yes.
But because it's not visual, we don't see it.
For me, I always said that it's actually the worst because this. someone beat you up, the pain go away. Sometimes the pain will go away eventually. Your body heal. But the bad part with the health mental issue is the fact that stay with you forever. Like
Hmm.
sometimes that end up creating more problems because someone can say one tiny little things to you that just mentally freak you out.
Triggers
And
you. Hmm.
yeah, it's like a trigger for you, and things just change. And mental abuse, for me, I look at it, it's like it's the worst thing you can have done to someone, because now you destroy that person for life, and it's
Hmm.
hard to move forward from it. And I met
Yes.
people that just do that mentally.
Yes.
They just, for me, I feel like mental issues, those type of they should be like a domestic violence. I know you're not hitting me, beating me, or calling me, or do things like that to me, but you are still hurting me in the inside. Mentally, you are destroying my life. That's how I
Yeah,
see
you're
it.
destroying your self-esteem, you're destroying your self-worth, you're destroying a whole lot of it. And you know, when I found out, as I began to do my research on narcissism, when I understood what I was dealing with, and one, they said that it's not going to change, it doesn't get better. But then when I understood, and I didn't feel it at first, when I understood that it was emotional and mental abuse, I'm like, I'm not going through my life a victim. So I then sought out narcissistic abuse recovery counseling. And I did that for 8 months because I did not want any facet of that experience to be carried on negatively for the rest of my life. And so I basically, turned the lemon and became a coach, and I'm helping other people get out of it and do better and reset their lives and do what they need to do. But to just sit back and just underestimate what's the impact that these relationships have on you is a gross disservice to you as a person, because we all have self-worth. We're all worthy and deserve the best that we can have, and no one needs to be mentally or emotionally abused at the hand of someone else who
Absolutely
basically
not.
is insecure and has less to offer than the person they're abusing.
And one thing I've seen also is with one person that I know for a long time, is when you are they see that you're doing better than them. That's when also a mental issue come into the where they start attacking you mentally. And
Yes.
I watched one woman go through that with a boyfriend for the past 6 7 years. It's kind of like every time she got and she's doing well, her business doing well, her life is like to the top, and he just start attacking her mentally,
Hmm. Hmm.
and to a point where she can't do anything. She just gets stuck because she's like frustrated and she doesn't know how to deal with it, and she just give up everything.
And that's his intention.
Pretty much,
That
yes.
that's his intention. His intention is to keep her down. He never wants her to rise. And so when you rise, that's the worst thing in the world that you can do to that type of an individual. And so by her giving in and allowing him to frustrate her and push her over the edge, he's still winning.
Yes, it is.
She's still letting him win.
Absolutely.
You
And
know.
it's kind of funny. Every time she's taking those breaks, I'm like, you know that you're wasting your time doing this. I'm like, I know you love this guy. You want to stay into this relationship. I think maybe it's time for you to move on. It's time for you to move on, because every time you get on the top, he pull you down to the bottom.
Hmm. Yep, that's where he gets his joy. He's happy when he's down there. He doesn't want to see her happy. And just a little statistic, they say the average person goes back to those relationships 7 times before they
Unfortunate.
call it
It's
before they
unfortunate.
quit.
I know someone like that. So do you deal with people like that every day?
I do. I do.
So what is your advice for them?
Get out. I never see. I basically, once you understand what you're dealing with, and it is what you're dealing with, and you've tried everything that you can, it's what else can you do? So at this point, it becomes self-preservation, and you have to do what you have to do for you. And so people who still want to be in it, I can coach you a little bit, but I can't be as effective if you've made up in your mind that you no longer want to deal with this situation and you no longer want to do better for yourself. Those are the people that I can help the most. I empathize with people who are still in it and try to help you see why you should get out of it. But those people you have to make your own decision that you've had enough. You have to decide that I am worthy of more than this. You have to decide that I call them situationships because they're not relationships, because they are all fake. It's not a real relationship. They don't love you. They love what they
That's
can get
true.
from you and the environment that you put them in. And so you have to get to the point where you no longer want to play that game anymore, because it's a game. It's not real. And when you get fed up and you're ready, then hey, I'm here. I can help you, do whatever, because I've gone through it. I went through it. I went through, being by myself and going through the coaching and going through all of the no contact and the rumination and going through all of those things to get to the point where I can live my life and live it happy. And I was
Absolutely.
going through and doing all of this while I was still going through a divorce, because when you divorce a narcissist, they want to hold on, so they delay things. So
That's true.
my little 3-year marriage took over a year and a half in order to be divorced from, so but you keep going, because I made up my mind that this is hurtful and harmful to me. There is no benefit in this for me, so I have to remove myself from it. And as I began to realize because they'll be quiet and send, apologies and try to call and play nice, but that's just to see if they still have control over you. So that's why they tell you to go
Huh.
no contact. So when you go no contact, whatever they say is not affecting you. You're growing stronger because you're ignoring them, and you feel good because it's like, wow, he texted me 12 times today and I didn't respond to any. So now you're beginning to feel good about yourself a little bit, right? And then
Hmm.
you're protecting yourself from the craziness that they bring to the table. And so you began to develop and improve, and you began to heal. You can't heal and still talk to that person. You can't heal and still be involved with that person.
No, you
So
cannot.
you have to make the decision. That's why you have to decide, this is what I want for me. This is what I want for myself. It's not about them. It's about me. And what's best for me is for you to get out of my life permanently. We don't need to be attached to talk or anything. And of course, it's different when you have children, because there's a little bit that you have to do, but you still can avoid contacting them and allowing them to be in control. We have technology today. You have emails, you have, text messages. If it's not about the kids, I don't want to talk about it. If you need to have a middle person that they communicate to, let them communicate. But it's all about you and your healing and your strength and what you can tolerate. And what you cannot tolerate is trying to remove yourself from a toxic relationship and still talk to the individual,
Exactly.
because they control and win all the time.
Exactly. And I see parents that does it, and I think that like you said, there's other way to. But another thing that I felt like when it's come to parents is the fact that they forget that all this thing they're going through, they're putting their children to go through the exact same thing as well. You're hurting your children as well. So
And you're teaching them. You're
yeah.
teaching them to be in situations that are not healthy.
Exactly. So when you are healing yourself, you're staying away from that person that's actually hurting you. It's actually better for your kids. And if you need to have a conversation to help them understand what you're going through, some kids will get it. They will understand you. But instead of you sticking to something that's actually just destroying your kid at the same time, I don't think it's fair at all.
And that's a mistake a lot of people make, that they want to hang in there for the sake of the kids and for the sake of the family and all of that. And as you say, you're teaching the kids. Kids know when things aren't right. The kids pick up on our shortcomings and our issues all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Kids, they know. And so you're not protecting them, because they see it, they're living it, And so you're teaching them to just deal with it in the same fashion that you're dealing with it. And that's why, people grow up to be abusive because they grew up in abusive homes, and that's all they know.
Pretty much, yes.
If your mom has self-esteem because she was with an abusive and toxic individual, then you're going to grow up and you're going to think that who your dad was normal and that it was okay. And so then you end up, and it's a perpetual cycle that continues. And at some point, it has to break.
Yes.
I was sharing with someone not too long ago that my father, my biological father, was abusive, and in the 60s my mom was like, hit the road, you got to go. And she had order protection and everything else legally that she could do. Now, what Black woman in the 60s were divorcing and kicking their husbands out and just allowing what is no, she that just wasn't happening.
I like
And
her really.
so she was in the 60s and she struggled. She had two kids, and she did what she had to do to make it, and she was happy for it. But no one is going to be. You have to set a standard for yourself. What are you going to allow? You have to teach people to how to treat you. Are you going to allow disrespect? Are you going to allow someone to talk down to you and demean you? Are you going to allow someone to continually lie? What are you going to allow? And the way that you protect yourself is through boundaries.
Huh.
It's just not going to happen. And you have to stick to your boundaries, and you have to make them treat you how you'd like to be treated. Now, in return, you have to, do the same, but you allow someone to disrespect you one time and they apologize. Okay, I'll give it to you. But if it happens a second time, then that means it's going to happen a third.
So
And no, you
you'll
have
never
to,
stop.
the buck stops the first time. You got to stop. That's a deal breaker for me. To be disrespectful to me is a deal breaker.
That's it. This is it.
That's my boundary. It doesn't happen. And then we have to learn to go with our guts. Our guts are never wrong.
That's
Your
for sure.
intuition doesn't mislead you. We just choose to ignore it.
And you know what? Every time that I go with my gut, or it's always at the end, it's always the truth. It's like it's
Mhm.
the whatever I'm feeling that I've been ignoring it, and at the end of the day, that was it. But it's just me that didn't want to take that path for whatever reason. It's just the weirdest thing ever. But what you are saying is it's correct. And I've
Mhm.
been through it where it's like I'm supposed to go with A, but I end up like, you know what, I'll go with B instead. But A was actually the proper thing to do, but I didn't
Mhm.
follow I didn't go with my gut. So I just,
Mhm.
yeah. So how
Because
can
we're
people,
comfortable not going with our gut. Sometimes our gut makes it uncomfortable. But
uncomfortable, yes. But
mhm.
a quick question, how do people get help from you as a life coach for
Um,
your
my
coaching?
website my website is lizwagnercoaching.com. And there's a link on there to set up a 30-minute free consultation. And that free consultation is to kind of understand your situation and to see if we get along and that we work well together, and then we can start working. So it's lizwagnercoaching.com. And I am on TikTok and Instagram with Liz W. the Coach on both of those platforms. And I post videos with little 60 to 2-minute tips on the situation and so forth.
And if someone looking for help with finding hotels or anything like that, so they will go to the hotellady.com website.
The hotellady.com website, and there's an inquiry sheet on there that they can do where they can fill out the information for their meetings or whatever they're needing, or they can just email me at Liz at thehotellady.com.
So you have been in business for 30 years now. What's next for you and your business?
Oops, I lost you.
You're still here. I can hear you.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear you. Now I got you. Now I have you. Okay. So yeah, so Liz at thehotellady.com is the email address, or thehotellady.com. You can fill out a sheet, whichever is easiest.
Okay. So you have been in business for 30 years now. What's next for you in the business?
Um, I enjoy what I do on both sides. Expanding. Ideally, I would like for it to, for my company to grow to where I have a large staff and it's considered more of a corporation as opposed to a small woman, female owned business, and I think that's what a lot of us entrepreneurs get into, that we own our own business and we work in our own business, and we are our business. And a lot of times we're our team. And I want to progress to the point of, um, I'm not the team, and that there is a team, and that the company functions, and it's not Liz Wagner pushing every button, but she has a team to make that happen. So I'd like to grow to that level.
And I think that's a great plan, and I have no doubts about it. So,
Well, thank you.
as a successful businesswoman, what is your message to young entrepreneurs?
I think that you need to first figure out what it is that you do well, and understand. You really have to understand who you are. And just, the perfect example of what I'm trying to say is, just because you're a good hairstylist doesn't mean that you can own a salon.
True.
So just because you're good at something doesn't mean that's what you should be doing. You need to understand your skill set and what you're good at, what your dream is, and what your God-given purpose is. And that's what you need to follow, because the opportunity is there for us to do everything. You dream big, make sure you have the skill set, know your business, know how to run a business. Not just because you have a skill to do something, but know the business side of it as well. And understand what your strengths are for real.
Great advice, Liz. Well, should I just say the hotel lady? I love that name better.
Thank you.
Anything else you'd like to share with us before I let you go today?
I just appreciate the opportunity of talking about everything. I know I came from two totally different perspectives between the coaching and the hotels, but one is my I say the hotel is my passion and the life coaching is my purpose. And so I'm trying to walk tall in both of them.
And I think that both of them are making a difference in this world, and you should keep both of them because you are happy doing them and you love what you do. That's all that matters.
Well, thank you. Absolutely.
I have a great conversation with Liz. Having a life coach can be very beneficial to help you navigate certain problems you are facing in life. Let's say, for example, toxic relationships, unexpected life events, or even your career. Getting a coach like Liz can definitely help you out. Thank you, Liz, for taking the time to have this conversation with me. Let me know your thoughts about this episode with Liz. And to learn more about Liz and hotel and hospitality concepts, visit www.thehotellady.com. Thank you for listening to Female Founders Podcast. That's it for this week's episode. Be sure to follow us on your favorite podcast app or connect with us on womel.com so that you don't miss our next episode. See you next time. Bye for now.